everyone. If you are with us today, welcome to our community education series. We're talking about medication machines today. I am Krista Rolando, and I'm the administrator with Relevant Home Care. And here's Misty. Hi, Misty.
Hi, hi, Krista. We're both at home today because of the snow, right?
Yeah.
You got a lot of snow. I think you got more than all of us combined.
Yeah, and I wasn't supposed to, so I guess I got to be the lucky one. Somebody was shaking my snow globe out here.
Yeah, that's right. You're in the snow globe out there. Oh, all right. Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us. We're excited to have you on our community education series. This is about medication machines. And as a home care agency and a Livity Care advocates, we've worked a lot with medication machines, so we're excited to go over them with you. And we'll have Krista on the call here today, and she is the administrator. And then myself, the owner. I started home care agency 20 years ago, and then we added care management services about 6 or 7 years ago. So, and then later on, our nurse Jennifer, hopefully will be able to pop on as well. And all of us have experience working with medication machines. So hopefully this will be beneficial to you or a family member or loved one that you're trying to keep at home and keep compliant with medications. So before we go too far, Krista, do you want to explain to the folks what services we provide?
Yeah, so at Relevant Home Care, we help people in home that want to remain in their home that, may be struggling with independence, doing, their everyday living tasks, or they may be worried about what the future holds for themselves or their loved ones. And, they don't really know where to turn. And we help people figure that piece of it out. We have really great staff, really great caregivers, and for the home care side of things. And then, if it's something that a loved one needs to move into a community and you're not even sure where to start with that, then our care management, Olivity and Misty, they're experts in that. So we do a lot here for people looking for help. And, a lot of people didn't even know there's medication machines out there, right, Misty? So we thought this was a great one to talk about.
Yeah. I love this topic because we've seen, I remember about maybe 15 years ago, we had a client who was at home. She had a little bit of memory loss, and we were just, if she could take her medications, and then we put a caregiver in there 4 hours a day, a couple times a week, we were able to keep her home for 2 more years before she had to go into a community. I mean, and I think about that, that's a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah. So these, that whole compliance piece, because we've seen a lot of nightmares with medication, right? Because medication can be taken, before we get into the actual machines themselves, they could not be taking them. They could be taking them wrong, taking too many, taking too little. I mean, there's so many situations that play into not taking the medication properly.
Yeah, and it's a really big deal because, most of these people are not just on vitamins or something that it doesn't matter if they miss a dose or it doesn't matter if they take an extra one. It's things like having to do with your heart and sometimes seizure medications. And those are really dangerous to miss or double up on, or, and we have to be able to help them with that.
Absolutely. I remember one client I went into, care management client, and she was diabetic. So she was, injecting herself with insulin. And I would say her whole kitchen table and most of her counters were covered in medications.
Oh my gosh.
And, knowing that she's like in her, upper 70s, early 80s, I mean, even for our nurse, medication setups could be really complicated. And to think that you're not feeling well and now you have to, try and figure out what medications you're taking or not taking. And I love the one that none of them want to take the water pill because it makes them go to the bathroom.
Right. I understand that.
That's a classic one. So yeah, who wants to run to the bathroom 100 times a day or at night,
Not me.
No, not at all. So anyways, one of the other things that sometimes we do is, because many times if you're setting up a medication machine and the client's been very involved in their medication, we've had situations where we'll actually make pictures of the pills, or we'll tape a pill onto a piece of paper and then list it out what the name is and what the purpose of it is, because sometimes they'll, if it's pre-dispensed, which is what we're going to talk about today, if it's pre-dispensed, there's certain things they might not want to take,
Yeah.
Or they can't take. Let's say their blood pressure's running, too low and they're not supposed to take that extra blood pressure pill. They can then see exactly what pill it is and which one to remove out of the, dosage for that particular time.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and look at, the first unit, and we're going to look at 3 units today. The 2 of the 3 we have in our clients right now.
Mm-hmm.
But all 3 of these we've used. So do you want to talk a little bit about this, Hero? Because I know you work really closely with one of our clients and this machine.
Yeah, I really like this machine. There's a lot of things about it that I like and make life easier. One of those things is it has easy setup. So the directions that come with it are very simple, and it's easily set up. And then it has a medication management app, and you can put it on the patient or the client. But for this particular person that we take care of, I have the app coming to me so that I can get, if he doesn't take his medications at 7:00 when they're scheduled, I get an alert. And not only that, I actually can see when he does take it. So I can see what the trend is, if there was any issues. And then, it keeps track of the percentage of compliance throughout the weeks compared to the week before. So I think that's really cool. Another thing that the app does, and it takes a little while to do it because it has to count the medications, but it will tell you when a medication is running low. And more often than not, it's pretty close on what the actual amount is. So sometimes it'll say, like, there's only 4 left of this medication. And that gives us enough time to say, okay, well, we obviously need a refill then, and we can set it up, which I think is very important. You're not just, oh, I'm out of pills, what do I do? And then you can also set times to fit their schedule. So if they're supposed to take breakfast medications and then bedtime medications, you can determine kind of what time that looks like. And you can change it at any time. So like I can go in the app if he has a schedule change and needs to be able to get his medications out sooner, then I can go in the app and actually change that medication time. And immediately it will let him have those medications.
Hey, that's a big deal.
Right.
That's, there's not very many machines that I know of that does that component where you can say, hey, they need to take a medication now,
Yeah.
So that's kind of a nice benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like that about it. Everything's pretty instant, instant gratification. We like that, right? So it really supports their compliance because, again, you can see the trends of when they're taking it, if they're not taking it, what that looks like, and really figure out what the problem is. And then, of course, it's preventing accidental overdose. You see that so often when people are setting up their own medications, and it's, it's not purposely. It's just maybe they're like, oh, I don't remember if I took this one this morning, and so I'm going to take an extra one, and they've already taken one. So that, prevents that from happening.
Right.
Misty, the other really cool thing about this machine is when you load it, you can put the entire bottle of one medication in and label it. So it's not like daily that you have to split it all up. You put the whole bottle in there, put what medication it is, it counts how many are in there, and it can hold up to a 90-day supply.
That's huge.
Right. And easy.
That is such a time saver. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I feel like sometimes you have to set up the medications just to reset up the medications, just to put them into the medication machine. So that's pretty cool. The only thing is if you take more than 10 medications in a day, it only holds up to 10 medications, or it will spit out 10 medications a day. So for somebody who's on a lot of stuff, this machine probably wouldn't be the best one, because you have to come up with another thing to go along with it.
Right. Interestingly enough, when we think about, like a medication setup, a lot of our, clients have a reasonable amount of pills.
Yeah.
But I would say that, our nurses, for the 20 years that we've been doing this, have had, they did medication setups the manual way, like putting them in the little cassettes.
Yep.
And
counting them.
Over the years, most of the nurses had at least one mistake here or there, because it is complicated to read the bottle, know specifically. Some of them are every day, every other day, once a week. I mean, it really has to be done properly. And then part of our processes is actually counting every pill in the box to make sure that everything is in alignment. So this particular unit itself, saves all that headache. I mean, you take that bottle of medication, you pour it into that area of the machine, and you set up your schedule, you label that's what that med is, and you're kind of done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very easy, and it has the screen on it I really like, because it's with technology now. It tells you the medication, how many you're taking, what it is, and that's really good for our clients, because a lot of our clients do know what they're taking, and they want to make sure that whatever is coming out of that medication machine is what they're supposed to be taking. So it's nice that it'll tell you, you're getting one of these and two of these, and that it will also tell you when your next reminder will take place too.
Right. Well, we do have to say one thing, a caveat here is we're saying that they'll take their medications because it's sitting in that cup there, but there's not always 100% guarantee.
Very true. Yeah, I guess there's always that issue you have to worry about. And hey, that's where home care comes in. If you have a caregiver, then they can remind you, make sure you take those medications. So call us for caregivers.
That's right. Then you can stand by and observe them and make sure that they're taking all of them. And it's pre-dose. But I also like the cup that it's in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that it's a plastic, it's a hard plastic cup. It's not something that's going to break. Even if somebody dropped it on the ground, it's not going to break. So, and easy to wash out and all of that, reusable. So it's really nice.
Yeah. So, one of the things with that is that, families or the client wouldn't have difficulty actually taking the pills out of there because of the dexterity of the hands. We wouldn't have to worry about that at that point.
Yeah, it's a very wide cup. So like when I go there and check it out, I can fit most of my hand in that cup. So it's not like you can only fit one finger in to try and get something out. It's very wide. So that's very helpful.
Yeah. So how does it sound? Like, what is it when it goes off? What does it sound like?
It beeps. There's different sounds that you can choose on there. But it does beep, and it will beep twice within, I think it's a half-hour period that this one does that. But then once that's done, it kind of skips it and goes to your next reminder. So that's why the medication times are pretty important. It will still allow you to, if you are to push the buttons, you can go back to a dose if it's in a certain amount of time. And you can set that amount of time. So if a family member is like, no, it's okay if they take it 2 hours late, you can set up the app to work that way.
You know what I love this machine for would be like narcotics.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, as somebody, we've had people, kind of abusing that on occasion, and you can actually determine, if they missed a dose, because some of our clients are younger. They're out during the day. When they come back, they need to take their medication. They might not have thought about taking it earlier, but a machine like this alone could just handle their narcotics in a way.
Yeah. And it works the other way too, where, like you said, we've had people abuse them, and maybe they're like, okay, I took whatever it was, 2 hours ago, and I want another one. This machine's not going to allow them to take it out before the dose is, programmed in the system. So it's really good at controlling that piece of it.
Right. Great. Good. All right. Anything else on this one before we move to the next one?
I just put some possible cons of the Hero machine on here. Some of these things are going to be the case with really any medication dispenser, things that could happen. But this one does hook up to Wi-Fi. So if you lose Wi-Fi, it's not going to work. It won't send the reminders, but it will alert you on the app that there is an issue with the machine and that it needs to be reconnected. And that's pretty easy to do. Sometimes pills get stuck. And of course, I mentioned earlier, it won't take more than 10 medications. If you're refilling this machine very often, if you're not taking advantage of, the 30 days that you can put in there or whatever it is, it will not continue to count properly. So you have to make sure that whatever you have in there, it has the right count beforehand.
Okay.
And the only other thing that I think people are, going to think is important is cost, of course. And this machine has a monthly cost, and you have to have a yearly subscription, I believe, right, Misty? We have to, sign up.
I really dislike that about this,
Yeah.
because, so many things can happen with our clients. Go in the hospital, move to a community, move into a nursing home or whatever those steps might be. And then we're stuck into an annual contract with them. And I don't really like that, but with any, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, for sure. And, one other thing I want to mention to family members about this particular machine is a lot of people ask if you're going out of town or, maybe your family member's coming to stay with you for a few days. What do you do with the medication machine? You can take this one with you. It should reconnect to your Wi-Fi, no problem, and should be reset up. But there is also an option that you can set up in the app to take a few days of pills out. I know people probably don't want to do that as often because then you have to set up your meds, right?
Right.
But there is that option, just so everybody knows about that with the Hero.
Is there I'm trying to think as far as pricing goes, do you have any pricing on this one?
I think it depends on when you sign up for it. I saw a couple different prices, but I think it's like $40 a month for this one, isn't it?
It's right around there.
Yeah.
$40 a month.
Yeah.
And then I think setup fee cost for it as well.
Yeah, I believe that was $100 or something along those lines. And so this one can be pretty costly, but it's a matter of, is it easy and does it work for you and your family? So
what about a backup battery? Do they have that?
It does. If it becomes unplugged, it does have backup, but it still needs that Wi-Fi connection. So if you don't have that, then it won't work.
Got it. Okay. All right. Anything else on this one? So everybody, we have this machine, we use this machine, we've had it for, I would say over a year now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Clients been very compliant with the medication. We have had a few issues here and there where we had to run out and go fix it. I remember that. But overall, we've had a good experience with it.
Yeah, and it has taken this client from really missing multiple doses each day to being compliant, almost 100% of the time. So
yeah, that's great.
Deal. All right, our next one, our nurse Jennifer actually uses this one weekly for one of our clients. And this is just a particular brand of it. They do have other brands of medication machines like this one. Misty, have you used this in the past?
Well, years ago, we had actually leased these out. So we would lease them out to the families for 30 days. And then if it worked out, we would go ahead and sell it to them because there was like a flat fee of, around $100 for that
Yeah.
particular machine. But families like to work through us because we would let them use it in advance instead of investing in, the $100 in it if it didn't work, because it definitely has some pros and cons that come with it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I know one of the pros is it's customizable. I mean, you can choose really any kind of noise for each different medication on this one. So like if there's a 7 a.m. reminder and a noon reminder, you can have different sounds for each of those. And sometimes that helps people because they're like, oh, what time is it?
Right.
So there's several different ways to customize that. And you can set reminders to up to 5 times a day. You can fit multiple medications into these little slots. And then the alarm will go off for 5 minutes. So if you're home and that alarm's going off, then you're going to know that it's time to take your medication. And it's loud. It's very loud.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, we're talking about like beep, 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 right? I mean, similar to the Hero, we're getting a beeping sound.
Yeah, there's also rings on this one. So you can make it kind of sound like almost like an alarm clock, I would say, is the sound. But I think that's what's good about this is you can customize it. So if you're like, I'm not going to hear that beep, then, you can make it more of the ring ring and maybe it's easier.
Yeah. So these slots look really small.
They're very small. That's one of the things that's not good about that machine is if you have limited dexterity in your fingers, have a really hard time, you're going to have a hard time getting the medications out of these little slots. I'm not sure why they're shaped that way, but it is very difficult to use your finger. And then it's not like you can just tip it because all of your medications will come out, right? You have all 28 days or whatever it is in there. So it's not beneficial for somebody who has a hard time getting into their fingers into those small places. And then it's also not beneficial for somebody who has multiple medications every day, or maybe gets medication changes a lot. This only has 28 slots. So it is possible that you would have to have a nurse or your family or whoever it is that's refilling your meds, set them up more often.
So basically that's going to give us 4 times a day, about a week. So, kind of doing weekly setups on that.
Yeah.
And then in regards to the Hero, let's just compare the number of days. How many days can you set up for the Hero compared to this?
Yeah, for Hero, you can set up to 90 days. Will fit in there. And, this one, like I said, is probably weekly or even more than that if you get a medication change. Because the other thing with this one compared to Hero is you have to be able to unlock it with the key to make a change. So it doesn't have something that's customizable where you can just push a button and get something early or add something in, where the Hero does if you have, the right code to get in and everything. So if you need to make quick changes, this is probably not the one.
Right. And, we've had clients that have had, a lot of elderly folks, for the most part, have difficulty kind of sticking their finger in there and getting those pills out. And then when they go to pull it out, the pills will, possibly fall on the ground. They're taking some, others are landing on the ground, possibly causing a fall risk for them. We've recommended in the past to use like a popsicle stick to pull them out, but still, it's not really the best case scenario.
Yeah, I see a lot of issues with this one. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely good things. I love that it locks and it alarms in so many different ways. But I do worry about, especially elderly people trying to get these out and just having them go everywhere. And some of it can be confusing. So unless they're like really familiar with their medications and the times and stuff, it can be confusing to look at.
Yeah. So we had 2 of these in the past. We don't actually sell or lease these anymore, but in the past we had one client who had their basic routine medications, their daily medications in one. And then we had their narcotics in another one. They weren't on a ton of medications, but, they were at all different times. But so in that particular instance, 2 of them worked. And then we went back, I think it's sometimes we went back weekly, sometimes we went back every other week to set the containers up.
Yeah, currently our nurse that sets one of these up right now is doing weekly. So, I mean, but it works for that particular client. It's been a big help. So, sometimes you have clients that don't know their medications and they're keeping some of them in a drawer over here and some of them are up on top of the fridge. And, we're really trying to eliminate that issue of, when do I take, what do I take? And this will definitely do that.
One of the things I would always try and tell people about this machine, and it reminds me of the old time alarm clocks.
Yeah.
I used to set the time and it was a little red digital numbers on it.
Yeah.
That's what sort of reminded me of. Most people like our age would kind of remember that,
Yeah. My husband still has that exact alarm clock. He will not get rid of it. I've tried very hard to replace it with multiple different ones. It's not happening. So, yeah. So if you like that alarm clock, this dispenser is for you.
Yeah, that's right. So when he gets elderly, that dispenser will work for him because he responds to it.
That's right. That's right. You get that noise in your head, you build a habit, right? So that can do that.
Right.
And this machine is a one-time cost. So that's beneficial to people. I mean, it's about $100. I've seen it, give or take. But depending on the company, I've seen it anywhere from like 99 to 140. So it really just depends. But then you pay that and you're done. There's no, monthly fee, but there's also nothing to manage it monthly that can be helpful. So.
Right. So really, when we look at it, this is the least costly unit for the most part. Definitely. And there's a variety on the market. This is only one of the many that are on the market.
Yeah. Yep. This is just one kind. There's all different kinds. I mean, if you Google automatic medication dispensers, you'll have a field day. So that's why we kind of picked the top 3 that we've dealt with to go over. And, of course, you can always contact us to talk further about anything that you have questions on.
What about a backup battery? Do you know if this one has it?
It does. Yes.
Okay. All right. I hate to keep bringing that up, but you need to at least know if it does or it doesn't. Yeah. Because if it doesn't and mom's electricity goes out and you don't know it, she's going to miss a dosage.
Definitely. Yeah. With anything that, they have in home, oxygen machines and all of that, that's definitely something that's a good question to ask and something you really need to know.
Yeah.
Will it still work if we lose power?
Right. So this particular unit, you're not paying a monthly fee for, which is the 2 other machines we're going to talk about. You are paying monthly fees for. So, yes. This unit works, great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And when it's, by the way, when it gets to the point where it stops working, because we've seen that too, right? Oh, it's working for a little while and then they don't recognize someone with memory loss or dementia. They don't recognize what that sound is for or what that means or what they're supposed to do with it anymore. Then that reliant on that unit, unless you have caregivers, like you said, home care, to say, oh, let's go get your medication. At that point, you're going to have to search for other options, which machinery will not help.
Yeah. And, we've seen a little bit of everything as far as reminding people, and everybody's different. So what may work for Misty may not work for me, or vice versa. Right. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you and, long-term, what you think is going to work. We had a client before that had a calendar and then would have sticky notes lining all through the day of the medication reminders. And that worked for her. That would not work for me because I would walk right by it. So,
or they'd fall on the ground. I'd be like, what happened to that sticky note?
Yeah. And you're moving the sticky notes. It's just too much for me to remember. So it really is just, what works for you. Hey, it works. But, we're here to just help kind of decipher some of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's head to the last one here.
So this one, I know Misty, you've worked with a lot more than I have. I've had only seen a couple clients with this one. But I know it works. It works really good for some people, right? Because it can hold a lot of medication.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So this is, years ago, MedReady was the original company that we would lease these as well. And then Phillips Lifeline, which is by far one of the biggest personal emergency alert system companies out there. I like them. They do a great job.
Yeah.
Bought that machine and, the contracts that went along with it. And so we're not, I hate to say it, we're not even sure that we can get these nowadays because Phillips, when you call there, sometimes they'll be like, we don't have them right now. But I did like this machine. I would call it the machine looks like the old time when you had a unit that would make bread in the house, everybody had
Yeah.
those, bread baking machines. Remember those?
Yes.
So, but that's what it looked like, but it was very customizable. And like you have on here, it holds up to 60 days of medication, but you're really looking at how many times a day, right? And it can be very complicated in setting this one up because you're dealing with these cups. This is the difference between this one and then Hero is that, they provide you with that. Yes, exactly. That big, plastic piece to put all these cups in. And you're like, wait, what day is it? And where does everything go? But you can see what the cups look like. And the cups are great because they're similar to the Hero in that, when I push that button, a cup, because what'll happen is this is probably the only unit I've seen on the market that will tell the person you can actually customize what to do. So it'll say, it's time to take your medication, or it might be, it's time to take your insulin. So they have all these customizable words that you can have this unit say. It actually talks to you.
Yeah.
So if you have someone with dementia, it's not this beep, beep, beep tone where they're supposed to recognize to go get their medication. They now have the machine telling you it's time to take your medication, but they have to be able to walk over and push that red button on the unit. And when they push that red button, then the unit will twirl down and drop, your medication set up for that particular time. So, for clients that aren't too far along in the memory loss, this machine works great. As long as the families don't lose their mind and trying to set all those dang cups up.
Yeah.
But the cups are reusable, same thing. I like to say they're like the old Jello shot cups,
Yes.
They have the lids on them. Now, sometimes very similar to the other ones, the lids, aren't put on right and they kind of get caught, or the cups get caught when they're twirling around. So, you do have to on occasion toss the old ones away and use nice and clean ones. There wouldn't be the situation like with Hero that you're throwing them in the dishwasher to clean them.
Right. Yeah.
And
they want you to use the cups that come with the machine because there are so many different kinds of those little cups that really they don't work unless they're the ones that come with the machine.
Well, and in the past, they would provide us with whatever we needed. So if you ran out, you just call them and say, I need some more of those, and then they would ship them out to you. I'm not sure if that's the case any longer.
I don't know, but I would think so. I mean, their website is very helpful. Just so you guys know, if you do choose this machine and need help with the setup, they actually have helpful videos that show you, what to do. And it explains it very clearly. So there is at least help out there on their website.
Yeah. And they're helpful. They have a helpful support staff as well, because in the past, they've had a department just to lease these particular units. Cause there is an installation cost. I want to say it was around $100. And then there is a monthly fee. And at the last time I checked, it was around $50 a month. So
yeah, it was $59.99 when I looked, or at least this one when I looked it up. But the good thing is there is no subscription, so you can go month to month if you want.
I love that. Yes. So you're not in a long-term contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now this is going to have your backup battery as well. So we had one client who had this, and he would travel to his mom's house, which was about an hour away. So he'd disconnect it, put it in the car, drive to mom's house, plug it back in, back and forth. So that worked out, just great. You don't really think about that. You always think about just, electricity going out.
Yeah. This one does need a phone line though to work. So if you don't have a phone line, you got to get one. I don't know a lot of people who have them anymore, but.
But that is only if you're going to use the app.
Okay. Yep. I didn't see that.
Yeah. So we had used it most of the time without the app. So you're going to have this fee with these folks on this unit where you have your monthly fee to rent the unit. And then if you want to have the online app, then you have to pay an extra fee.
Right. Yeah, you're right. For it to be able to send to your family member or whatever it is that you want.
Right. Give you an alert that they didn't take it, or that you're running low on medication, whatever it might be. There is also an early dosage button, but it seemed kind of odd to me. It wasn't like the Hero where on the app you could push it. You actually have to put the key in the unit, open the unit up, and hit early dosage. But that didn't really work for us because a lot of our clients, well, first of all, the key is about this big. It's super small. And we wouldn't want them messing around in there at all. There was way too many buttons to be pushing. And then on top of it, it sometimes worked and it sometimes didn't work. So we didn't really mess around with the early dosage button at all.
Yeah, same thing with reviewing. I noticed on this machine, same thing. If you have to make a change to a medication or something like that, you have to put the key in, and it's somewhat difficult to understand how to go through that process and what buttons to push to be able to do that. So not as easy as the Hero, I would say. I mean, you can still do it, but it's definitely takes some effort on that.
Right. And if we go back to that plastic thing that you have to set up, I remember we actually had to train our nurses on this thing because it's not like Hero where you open the bottle and you pour it in the cup. This is setting it up. Then once all that's done, all your medication's set up, you put your lids on, and now the machine is going to sort of walk you through how to put the cups in upside down. And then you got to push the button, put the next cup in, push the button, next cup in. So it can get quite a bit more complicated than the Hero is.
Yeah, it's definitely time consuming, and you have to be very careful. They say that in the helpful video that they have, that you're putting the doses in the correct way because you have to line them up, 8 a.m., noon, whatever it is. And then you have to put them in that way. First dose first, second dose second. So it can be time consuming and very tedious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else on this one, Krista, that we didn't go over?
I don't think so. Did we miss anything?
No, I mean, I like this machine a lot too. The big thing for me on this one was that it tells them what they need to do.
Yes.
Time to take your medication. I had one of our clients say, that thing yells at me all the time. It was just so thank you, So, all right. So hopefully that was helpful for everyone. And, like Krista said, if you have questions on medication machines, or, you want to know more about our services and, how we might be able to support you or a family member going through, the challenges of aging or other issues that might be happening in your life, you can give us a call. The number's up there, or send us an email.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Misty, for talking with me about medication machines. And I can't wait for our next time on Facebook Live.
Yeah, and do you know what we're going to be talking about?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about what's important in home care agencies, what questions to ask, and all of those things, because you hope that when you're calling a home care agency, they're going to give you the right information, but people need some help along the way. And especially if you've never looked for one, you can't just pick one, out of the air. You have to know what you're looking for. And we want to help with that.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people over the years have said the hospital gave me a list of 25 agencies.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know what I'm doing. So anyways, that'll be a good one. We know it well. We've been doing it for a long time. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
See you later.